And I'd already started, when I was 17, I started a t-shirt company. I started a web design company, which both I went through bankruptcy in the process at 24 years old. Why? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. So each of you, as you share your stories, somebody needs to hear it. Someone needs to get something from you so that way they can take it a part of them and say, okay, I've added this piece from Aaron, I've added this piece from Mr., I've added this piece from Tony, I've added this piece from Baron. And they start building a new version of them that's gonna do more, be more, and have more because they're hearing your truth. See, it all starts with the seed of truth. Like, what is your truth? What is the real thing? What happened? What did happen? How did it happen? What did you suffer? What's the real timeline? This timeline for me started at 2007, January 7th of 2007 is when we opened the first door of Simpluris. I had no idea what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. I had an idea how to build an administration company. I had just done it for about 4 years. Took me 1 year to get my first sale for $3,000. Okay? Literally 12 months for $3,000 I worked for. Nothing great to write home about that, right? Then the next year after that, we did $350,000. The next year after that, we did $3.5 million. The next year after that, we're on track for like almost $7 million. The owner and I at the time, there was a discrepancy on ownership and stuff. And why? Because it was my fault. I didn't push for clarity in the beginning. I did not push for signed contract. I didn't even know that someone could change something from what they said before. I didn't know that was even a possibility in the world I grew up with. I grew up in a different world. Someone said they're gonna do something, they do it, and that was it, and that was the deal. Very simple. You honor your deals. That was it. Did not work. So I stepped away and I started this company, right? And when I started it, I literally had, I always say like 2 rolls of toilet paper, 1 couch, and 1 computer. And that was it in 1 office. And then this girl, Krista, came in a few weeks later and started working. Then my brother came in like more part-time into it a few weeks later. Some of you guys know like Zach. Then this other guy, Steve Artoon, about a couple months later, came in and started working with. And a lot of that team got paid nothing for a few years, or very little, or $500 a week for a few years. So this is not some great super fast success story. This is just a story of just, having a very specific vision of building a software platform to service the legal industry, where we're building software, which is expensive. You don't see a lot of return for years or decades later, and you're trying to float cash for 12, 18, 24 months at a time. So these problems compound, and I was so ignorant, I didn't know it was so bad of what I was walking into. So I started with like the lowest level of intelligence in building a business, running a company, or doing anything. But I did read the books when I was a kid. I did read the biographies of Armand Hammer, who started with nothing and then built an empire. As some of you know, if you've been to the Hammer Museum, you've seen some of his companies that he's built. He built these worldwide. I read these biographies. I read the Nixon biographies. I read all these different entrepreneurial biographies as a kid. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do something, right? And I'd already started, when I was 17, I started a t-shirt company. I started a web design company, which both I went through bankruptcy in the process at 24 years old. Why? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. There was no masterminds, no Scott Duffys, no Barons, no Tonys, no Aarons, no Marisas. When I was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, I had to go to the library to check out books on cassette. I had to listen to Brian Tracy on cassette tapes on the lifeguard tower as I was watching people try to save their lives, and I was more interested in taking notes than watching the people sometimes, probably. Unless the hot girl walked by, you know what I mean? And I'm like, whoa! And it was great, right? So that's how I got my education. I didn't know Brian Tracy. I didn't know Dennis, but I got to listen to them on the lifeguard tower for hours and hours at a time. See, the seeds were planted. I started buying the books, right? All the books I gave over, I found Amway, and I started reading and studying, and that becomes transformation. And you look how long of a timeline it takes from the time you're 17 years old to now. I'm almost going to be 50 years old, October 4th of this year.